Hulu just came out with a remake of the 1992 classic White Men Can't Jump. The original was great. Has Wesley Snipes as Sidney, Woody Harrelson as Billy. I would recommend everyone go watch it. If you don't know, it's a couple guys playing basketball and hustling and talking shit. And Hulu made a remake because that's what Hollywood is now, and it is an absolute pile of garbage. The original was really fun. It was a movie with commentary on stereotypes and addiction, and really it was about just focusing on the things that you have in common with people instead of the things that you don't. And this remake tries to do all that stuff, and it does all of it in a way shittier fashion. So I'm going to give a quick synopsis of the original, just in case you haven't seen it, and just for context. The original is about Billy and Sidney, Woody and Wesley. Woody shows up to a pickup game where Wesley is, and he hustles him. Wesley finds him and says he wants to be his partner and go hustle other people. And we find out that Woody is on the run from bookies because he has a gambling addiction. So they do some hustling, and they're dressed super 90s, and the look is dated, but the movie's still good. Woody looks super dorky, and the opposing players always pick him because he's the only white guy at the court. Woody, it turns out, was a guy who played basketball at a small college. So obviously when he plays in a pickup game, he's really good. So Wesley betrays Woody by throwing a game with a couple of his friends for like $1,800. So Woody's girlfriend, Gloria, is studying trivia the whole time in the background because she wants to be on Jeopardy. It's an ongoing thing throughout the movie. Gloria confronts Wesley's wife about him backstabbing him, and Woody bitches at Wesley because they go over to his house together. So the wives are like, you two are going to get over it and do this 2-on-2 tournament where you can win $5,000. So they do it. And when they win, Woody asks Wesley about a pass that he made. And Wesley said that he thought he was going to throw it down on him, like dunk on him. So they get into a really dumb argument where Woody keeps being like, I can dunk, And Wesley's like, okay. He doesn't care at all. So Woody gets all pissed off and says, why don't we each bet half of our money? And he gives him 3 tries and he can't do it. And the joke is that he can't jump because he's white. And they also have an ongoing argument about just making the play or being flashy. And Woody keeps saying to Wesley that he would rather look good and lose than look bad and win. So there's a lot of ongoing jokes throughout the movie where Wesley tells Woody that he's listening to Jimi Hendrix, but he can't hear Jimi Hendrix because he's white. Woody gets home. Gloria's pissed because he lost the money. Woody goes to try to talk to Wesley when he's working, like a regular job. And we see that Wesley has multiple jobs because he's trying to get him and his wife out of this bad neighborhood. And actually, in a little bit, their house gets robbed. So Woody begs Wesley for help, and he happens to know the security guard at Jeopardy. So they go, and the security guard says, if Woody can hit a full court hook shot, he'll get Gloria on Jeopardy. So he makes it. And Wesley says that Woody owes him a favor after Gloria goes on Jeopardy, because this is when his house gets robbed. And he says, hey, if you have the money, there's a couple of legends coming to play at the park, and the buy-in's a couple grand or whatever it is. So Woody pays off his bookies, and he tells Gloria that he's just going to do this one last bet with Wesley because he owes him a favor, and Gloria leaves him. So it ends. They beat him. Woody ends the game with a dunk. And then it ends with Wesley and Woody talking shit and playing at the court. And Woody's like, man, I need to get a regular job. It's like a classic buddy-buddy story about people with different backgrounds becoming friends. Pretty typical, simple movie. And the new one, before I get too much into the plot, I think the real issue with the new one is that there are racial jokes in the original, but they're nothing serious. It's like, oh, you're white, so you can't jump. Or, you're black, so you'd rather look good than win type thing. And the new one, they make jokes about like really kind of esoteric things and reference slavery and colonizing. And some of the jokes are pretty fucking racist, actually, about the black people robbing the white guy and stuff. And it just doesn't work. There's a couple of decent jokes in there, but it's just not a good movie. All right, so let's get into the new one so we can compare them. So the new version is about this guy Jeremy and this guy Kamal. Jeremy is played by Jack Harlow. Kamal is played by Sinqua Walls. Jeremy in the movie played at Gonzaga, and he has bad knees now. Kamal was the #1 high school player until he jumped into the crowd and punched a fan, and then he never played an organized game again, just pickup. So we jump forward 10 years, and before we even get into the movie, I'll just go ahead and say Jack Harlow is a rapper, so the acting is just awful. Part of that is obviously the writing, because the writing is also just horrendous. But the acting in this movie is really bad. So I don't know why you cast a rapper to be the main guy in your movie, even if it's straight to streaming. I mean, there's plenty of decent actors out there who could do this part. Jeremy is trying to do like a YouTube influencer, sell detox type hippie thing with basketball players, and Kamal is working at a package delivery guy, and they both play pickup basketball. They run into each other at the gym. Jeremy talks shit to Kamal. He hustles him. They try to do what Woody did to Wesley in the original, but these guys just don't have the charisma to pull it off. So it's just like annoying to watch and dull, and it's just a ripoff. Like it's just a shittier version. So he calls them a bunch of white person insults like gentrifier and Columbus and shit. And that's kind of what I'm talking about when I say the jokes are like, it's a situation where you can tell that the people who wrote this actually believe the jokes. So they come across as more aggressive than funny. Even if they were decent jokes, which they're not. Kamal's wife is trying to open up a hairdresser place, and she's working out of their house or their apartment. Jeremy's girlfriend, Tatiana, is a ballet instructor and dance choreographer. And Jeremy, he's like a stereotypical hippie white guy who meditates and shit. And he's trying to heal his ACLs, and his girlfriend's like, you spent a lot of money on this, you need to grow up. Like, your basketball days are done. Because he's constantly talking about making it to the league and shit like that. So pretty much everybody in this movie is just a stereotype. And the black dudes are friends with criminals and shit, and they suggest robbing people all the time. A black dude at one point, when they're hustling, the guy says, hey, you got any money? And he goes, man, I got 9 kids. Like, that type of shit. So, they do a little bit of hustling and steal, and they talk shit and whatever. In the original, the way it's done is Woody talks shit to get Wesley pissed off because he plays better, and to piss off their opponents to make them play worse. And that's what they're going for here. Again, it's just a worse version, which pretty much just sums up this entire movie. So in the original, I didn't mention it because I was giving a quick synopsis, but one of the guys that Wesley and Woody hustle goes, fuck this, I'm going to get my gun and kill all y'all. So he goes to get his gun out of his car, and everybody freaks out and runs. And this one, they do the same thing, except instead of a gun, the guy has a fucking flamethrower. I don't even know what to say about that. It's so absurd. Like, some dude playing pickup basketball and hustling has a fucking flamethrower instead of a regular gun. So Jeremy and Kamal try to talk and bond, and he's trying to get him into his meditation and whatever. And like I mentioned, I think one of the biggest problems for me with this movie is that there isn't a conversation where race doesn't come up. Every single conversation is framed through this racial lens. And it comes up frequently in the other one because Woody's like the white guy. He's the token. Him and Wesley still have conversations where they're talking about their girlfriends being mad at them and just regular shit. Or Jimi Hendrix even. I don't know. I don't know why the writers for this couldn't seem to separate those two things out, or maybe they just didn't even realize that every component of the movie had a racial focus to it. And it just gets really excessive. Even when they're talking about music in this, Kamal says that the only white artist that he likes is Ed Sheeran. And this is supposed to be one of their bonding moments. And it's just ridiculous. So Jeremy goes to a cookout for Kamal's kid's birthday, and one of Kamal's friends is asking a kid to go get an eighth of weed from his grandma. More just stereotyping shit. And then Jeremy brings a bottle of Hennessy, and they're all shocked that his girlfriend's black. Which in the original, Gloria is, I think she's Puerto Rican, I don't know, she's Hispanic. And it's not really a big deal. They'll make comments that she's attractive, but it's not some huge thing. And by the way, both of these guys in this movie, in the remake, are lying to their girlfriends about how they know each other. And they're saying that Kamal is doing Jeremy's detox program. So we see Kamal's dad has MS. We find out both guys are essentially losers in their relationship. And there's just a ton of blatant exposition and dialogue in this movie. Kamal's dad says, it's surprising seeing you two be friends. I bet there's more to this than meets the eye. And it's okay, yes, we understand that they're an odd couple without you just saying it. And the way that this is done in the original is when they go to confront Wesley Snipes at his house about backstabbing him, those guys are both in the living room kind of bickering, and they're rooting for the Lakers, and they all bitch when the Lakers lose. And when the women come in and they're like, you two are going to play together, so get over it, they both start complaining to their wives at the same time. And you can see that they're very similar without them coming out and saying oh, you two are a good match or whatever dumb shit. So Jeremy's girlfriend Tatiana gets a choreography role, offering to travel her around the country, but she's worried about money. And we see some more hustling, and Kamal starts doing stretches and breathing, and not quite meditation, but he's on his way. Jeremy buys Tatiana this little ballet statue, and they rip off a scene from the original where she straddles him while he drives in the convertible down the highway. They go play in a 2-on-2 tournament for 25,000, which is why they were hustling, was to get the $2,500 buy-in. And Kamal's wife tells Jeremy he hasn't played anything but pickup since he punched that guy in high school. And they're matched up with this guy you saw earlier who played at Duke, and he's also a trainer like Jeremy is. And Kamal has a kind of a panic attack, and they end up losing. So Jeremy gets pissed off at him, and Kamal chokes him. It goes viral. He gets fired from his job. Jeremy's girlfriend finds out. She's pissed off, and she says she's going to go do the tour. And essentially just calls him a loser and rips him a new one. Essentially what you see in the flashback is that the guy in the crowd was talking shit about Kamal's dad, who had just gotten hospitalized that day. So Jeremy gets drunk and goes to that gym where he trains people, and he gets kicked out. And he tries to pick a fight, and Kamal steps in and stops him from getting beat up. He blames Kamal for him getting caught lying to his girlfriend. Kamal's girlfriend lays into him about getting a new job because they need to make rent. And he gets a call that his dad's in the hospital. His dad says that it was his fault because he hid his illness from Kamal. And he's not worried about the NBA not working out. He needs to stop beating himself up. He just wants him to be happy so everybody can see how happy he used to be. And Lance Reddick is the guy who's the concierge in John Wick, who died recently in real life. He's the dad in the movie. And he gives a good performance. Like, this little scene was nice, but it's just wasted. And it's a shame that one of his last roles is going to be this dog shit. So Kamal wants to play in the $500,000 tournament, the $7,500 buy-in, which they would have gotten a free buy-in if they had won the 2-on-2 tournament, which they didn't. So his wife offers $5,000 and tells the other two friends of Kamal's that have been hanging around the whole movie to figure out the other $2,500. Jeremy shows up blasting Ed Sheeran and asking to play with him. Kamal's girlfriend had told Jeremy that they needed another person, so that's why he shows up. So we get a montage of them cruising through the games, and now with Kamal getting closure, he's playing well. And then eventually he starts feeling the pressure and having flashbacks. He does his meditating and centers himself or whatever. They put Jeremy in, game turns around, Jeremy gets a dunk, kind of defeats the purpose of White Men Can't Jump, or whatever. The title, I mean. They go to the championship game. Jeremy gets hurt on game point because of his knees. And some dude talks shit to Jeremy and then about Kamal and his dad. And Jeremy separates him and then sucker punches the guy and knocks him out. And we get a really shitty, like, supposed to be inspirational thing here where Jeremy's getting pulled away by security. And he's like, I believe in you. And so does your dad. And basketball's your therapy. You don't need therapy. And it's just fucking awful. And this is why you get actors and not rappers. Kamal's team stops the other team from scoring. He sees his wife and kid, and she's upset. And he realizes his dad died. And he gets all emotional and then hits a step back three, and they win the $500,000. We get a Blake Griffin cameo as the guy giving him the big check. Jeremy apologizes to Tatiana for being a loser, which he was. And he fakes a knee injury at the dinner table and then proposes. She accepts. Kamal's wife gets her shop. Kamal goes to play in China and then goes to the Lakers G League team. And now we see him being interviewed for a 10-day contract with the Lakers. He thanks Jeremy for his detox shit. His friend, they've been giving shit to all game, brings his white girlfriend to the game. She's been mentioned all movie, but you haven't seen her before. And the other black friend has been giving him a hard time. I call her an ugly fat white chick. And then he's like, oh, should I consider finding me one of those? No, we don't play in the snow. So like a black guy can't date a white woman joke. Just overtly racist shit that's not funny. We get a Tyler Hero cameo at the very end with Jeremy and Kamal sitting on the court. And Tyler Hero is one of Jeremy's clients because essentially his job now is dealing with hot-headed players. Happy ending all the way around. So yeah, this movie was a complete fucking waste of time. It only had the same title as the original, just for funding, I'm imagining. There's a couple jokes that you might chuckle at, but overall, it's just suffering. Like, even if you have Hulu and it's already available to you, it's not worth your time. The acting is so bad. The writing is so bad. I just don't understand why Hollywood can't just leave the classics alone. And they had to make shit like this. Like, Hulu's not gaining subscribers for making garbage like this. So it's just a waste of their own time and money. And it serves no purpose other than to make everyone ask the question, why is this being remade? Which I feel like is the common sentiment for every remake in recent memory. I'm sure there's been a couple good ones that have slipped in. Every time you see something getting remade now, it's like, oh, like they're going to destroy that thing that I liked when I was younger. It's a shame because the original was so just simple and straightforward and funny. And it wasn't trying to have this deep philosophical commentary on race relations. And the whole message of the original movie is just, yeah, people have shit in common. That's what you should focus on. Like, yeah, black guys and white guys have fights with their girlfriends and, try to make ends meet and whatever. It's not like every single thing is about race and some meta commentary. If you haven't seen the original, just go watch that. If you've seen the original, I would just rewatch it instead of watching this shit. So that's all I have to say for this one. Thanks.